Welcome to Making Money Matter, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Kerry Stevenson. Today, I have asked Chris Byrne. He is the CEO and Managing Director of Legacy Minerals. The ASX code is LGM. They've got a few projects in New South Wales, copper gold. Pretty interesting story. I want to dig deep, excuse the pun, ladies and gentlemen, into what they're doing and some of the strategy around what they're doing, because I know there's going to be a lot of news coming up into 2024. And so I think lots to cover. Sit up and take some notice. Chris Byrne, welcome to Making Money Matter. Great to see you.
Yeah, great to be on, Kerry, and thanks for taking the time out to chat about the projects in the company.
Well, this is the first time you've come on. So I think for those that might not know who Legacy Minerals are, can you just give us a very high-level overview of the company?
Yeah, sure. We're ASX listed, so back in 2021. So we've just sort of ticked 2 years being on the share register, and it's been a rough sort of ride in terms of the markets, but we've really stuck to our guns in terms of our fundamental focus on gold and copper in New South Wales, safe jurisdiction. We've been patiently building, our portfolio of assets since 2017. So that's selectively acquiring them. 90, all of our projects bar one have been pegged as free ground, so zero cost acquisition, and that includes some that we've got under some pretty significant joint venture partnerships. So, we've been very patient and systematic in building what we consider to be some sort of great, discovery opportunities in what is a safe jurisdiction. Australia being one of the top, mining and exploration jurisdictions globally, and we're certainly seeing that as a safe place for not only mums and dad shareholders, but also major mining companies in terms of putting their cash into the region and into some of our projects as well.
Yeah, we'll come into some of these major mining, because that's actually a very clever strategy, I think, going forward. But let's start with where these projects are located, because you say New South Wales, you said that there was zero cost for acquisition. Talk us through where the projects are located.
Yeah, so we've got 8 projects, and 7 of those are in what's called the Lachlan Fold Belt or Lachlan Origin, and one's in the New England Origin. Across both of those regions, mineral endowment from a gold perspective, 120, 130 million ounces. Copper, I think roughly 20 million tons. Most well known globally for now, Newmont's Cadia Ridgeway mine. 50 million ounces, 10 million tons of copper. That's a global standout. It's arguably Newmont's best asset in their global portfolio from the cash it generates. So it's a district that hosts major deposits. We've got ground looking for those same type of porphyry copper deposits. We've also got quite a good foothold in these low sulfidation epithermal systems. So we're actually the largest explorer for these in New South Wales. So we stretch all the way from sort of Cobar, which has seen some really active exploration and mines sort of changing hands out there, all the way down towards sort of your southern New South Wales region. So quite a geographical spread across the region.
I think you've got something you can share with us as well as to exactly where these projects are, because I think visually it's nice to see exactly what, oh, here we go. Look at that. Not just pretty colors, but look, if you wouldn't mind, just talk, because there's a lot of projects here. And I guess from an investor point of view, they might turn around and say, well, where's your focus at the moment? And we will dig deep, but I just want people to get a visual of exactly where you are looking, all in New South Wales.
Yeah, correct. So yeah, by sort of not restricting, but focusing our exploration team. We don't have a head office, so we operate out of the regions. We obviously save a lot of money, and that's quite important as a small junior explorer to be. We're not geographically stretching ourselves, but we've got our projects that we list there as our focus projects and pipeline projects. And we're not a company that has a single flagship asset that we think is going to be the one for us. What we're presenting, and we think that this is a very prudent exploration approach, as long as you've got the funding and the cash to be able to do it. But discovery is about probability and your chances of success, and you increase that by having good high quality projects and being able to explore multiple ones. So those focus projects that are listed there, they're all going to be drilled this year. That's the plan. Fontenoy is being drilled at the moment under our agreement with an artificial intelligence company, Earth AI. So that's in the pipeline projects section there. But our main projects, Black Range and Ballura, as well as Glen Logan, they're going to be drilled all throughout this year, as well as Fontenoy and Drake, where we're sort of developing, I guess, the drill targets up there. So what that
Drake,
sort of gives...
Drake looks like it's just the sort of the cousin that sort of disappeared up there. It's not kind of in the same. It's kind of like the Cobar one. I mean, seems
correct. Yeah, so we Cobar is where Legacy started. Actually, a bit of free ground that we pegged out there.
right.
Often that has been the case that we've gone in with the new geological thinking. What happened out at Cobar, within about 6 months, we saw Sandfire peg a huge land position completely surrounding our sort of small, relatively small landowning out there. But they might look isolated, but in terms of us being able to access them and do the exploration work, we're in the same region essentially. They're all accessible by good roads and infrastructure. So Drake does sit up in the New England Fold Belt, so it's sort of closer to Brisbane than it is Sydney, but in a well endowed region. When people think of some of the big mines that were produced up in that New England Fold Belt, so roughly 20 million ounces. But yeah, having that tight central focus in southern New South Wales, and we're there because really we saw an opportunity that there was lots of unpegged ground, which again, it's a $0 application fee. New South Wales being a very good jurisdiction to pick up ground as a junior, and we've been able to add a significant amount of value. So if you look at Ballura as a great example, that was pegged as free ground back in 2021. And within 2.5 years, we've added so much value to that project that Newmont, decided to enter into a joint venture on it. So that was they saw what we saw there as well, the potential for these large-scale undiscovered deposits that are in New South Wales and hopefully on our ground.
Sorry, there's a bit of a takeaway here. I'm just looking at the ACT, tiny little ACT stuck in there, which is quite amusing. Just quick question. You look at Cadia Ridgeway, which you spoke about before, big mine, bringing off a lot of cash for Newmont. And then I'm looking at the red dots, which is where you're operating, if you like. In that area, is that the same sort of geological structure? What I'm wanting us to all understand is why you chose these particular areas.
Yeah, and it's a really good question. New South Wales, the exploration effort, it was really focused on people have been searching for another Cadia.
Yeah.
So people have been looking in the same age rocks. We do have projects that we are chasing those as well, and we partnered with S2 on one. So that is chasing a Cadia type discovery at Glen Logan. But we also saw a real opportunity in looking in the places that previous people had overlooked. So that's think Black Range and Ballura. So these were the wrong age rocks. These systems that we've now identified and proven through our drilling and other sort of groundwork exist there. Both academically and from other explorers, it was inconceivable you'd have these types of systems existing in central New South Wales. So what that's meant is that we've managed to peg district scale opportunities. And you talk about the size of Canberra or the ACT, the scale of the Black Range project by a landmass comparison, it's roughly about 40% the size of the ACT. So we're talking about huge footprints that we've managed to pick up just because, again, people weren't looking there. So we feel that...
Sorry to interrupt you again, but that's what surprised me, why Newmont didn't peg a lot more ground. How the heck did you guys get so much ground? Were people just not looking? Were they not...
There'd been that big focus on porphyry copper systems. So people are looking, for these types of deposits in these certain types of geology. And not many people really looked, in the southern areas south of Cadia for low sulfidation epithermal. So, when Black Range is a really good example that majors were down there. They sort of had an inkling, but the last company to sort of set foot on ground at Black Range at our highest priority area was Newcrest back in 1992. So when we're looking at projects, when we see that majors liked it, they might have liked it 30 years ago, and no one's been out there since. We know that there's been huge improvements, technological advancements in geophysics and geochemistry. So what we can see from even the basic work that we've done, we're looking at things that Newcrest wouldn't have had access to. Rio Tinto dropped the Glen Logan project back in 1994. I thought that was too deep to test, and no one's held it since, and no one's done any modern geophysical reprocessing. So they're the opportunities that we see that others have missed. But it also demonstrates the size. We're looking for big, tier one type deposits. And it does sort of explain a slight shift in our company's focus over the years from, particularly Hardin, which is an orogenic shear-hosted gold system, but towards these projects that have real world-class size, and that's a lot more exciting. The upside's a lot more significant for shareholders when you're looking for these big systems.
How do you look for big sit? Now, look, there are some people on my channel that go, I don't know what low sulfidation epithermal means. So sometimes I just turn around to my guests and I say, bring it back down to some basic stuff here. When you mention that, which you've mentioned a couple of times, why is that important?
Yeah, so majors, a lot of the big gold miners really look for a few different geological deposit styles. And probably most of the world's gold outside of South Africa and the belt that's been phenomenal in historical production there. But 80% are roughly produced from these epithermal systems, and miners like Newmont, Barrick, Newcrest operate a lot of these globally. So a low sulfidation epithermal, and a good example that I've talked about in the past for people is Sierra Negro in South America. Produces, or it's been forecast by Newmont to hit 500,000 ounces per annum.
Per annum.
Per annum. So that's the scale that these types of systems are. Waihi over in New Zealand, you're talking big multi-million ounce type systems. And Cal is a variation on the theme of those sort of epithermals, being a carbonate base metal. 15 million ounces, that's 80 k's up the road from Ballura. So the majors like them because they're big, essentially high grade bulk tonnage. And by virtue of what we're looking at Ballura, it's at surface, so it's cheap. Porphyries, on the other hand, are deep, but they're also got that sort of similar endowment. And think all your Porgera, any other big sort of Pacific Rim, Freeport with Grasberg, those types of systems. So that's what we're sort of chasing. So yeah, the size of the prize is big, and that translates directly to upside for shareholders should we be successful in making those discoveries.
The upside is big, but could the cost be big as well? How do you, as a junior, how do you manage that?
Yeah, and it very, very true, and it probably is even more important in these tougher equity markets. We sort of saw those conditions being tough for juniors to raise money, particularly to do large scale exploration programs that these projects need. And the way that we do that is, we do have projects that we own 100% ourselves. That's Black Range. But we also look for this hybrid we call it a hybrid discovery model. But it's essentially a vision for the company where we partner with high quality companies, Newmont and S2 as a good examples. For those that don't know, S2, led by Dr. Mark Bennett, track record, Mark Creasy, major shareholder of S2. And they have a track record of making discoveries and monetizing those for shareholders. So we couple that, the funding that's required on both those projects. So we've got about 25 million in joint venture and earning agreements across 3 projects. So that gives us that non-dilutive exposure for our shareholders. And on 2 of those projects, Ballura and Glen Logan, Newmont and S2 have agreed to contribute and carry legacy through to 20% ownership at a production stage. So there's a good short-term upside for shareholders in terms of discovery exposure, but longer-term, upside as well from owning a significant portion of an operating asset.
So if I can make it very just to break it down, both Ballura and Glenlogan, joint ventures, one with Newmont, one with S2. You don't have to put, as in legacy shareholders do not have to put a penny into either of those projects until there's a decision to mine. Is that correct?
Not even until there's a decision to mine.
Oh,
And when it's operating, that's it. We're loan carried through to operations. So we'll have legacy mineral shareholders will have 20% ownership of hopefully what will be a Newmont sized mine. And again, they're looking for that Sierra Negro style 500,000 ounce per annum. That's, they're not getting out of bed to come to Australia to pick up, small, insignificant projects. They're looking for big things, and it's a testament just based off going slightly off track. Newmont have done really, after joint venturing with us, they purchased Newcrest in New South Wales, took over Cadia. So, they're looking for big targets. And what it means for shareholders by not having to contribute another dollar on either of those projects, and that's through the financing side, and that can be quite risky. That Lassonde, curve orphan period that a lot of the developers now face when they're looking at how they're going to raise all this money to get upfront commitments from Newmont that they'll fund 20% of our ownership, and we don't have to repay our stake until it's operating. So it's a complete free, it's a great opportunity and a great position to be in.
well done, you. I think that's great. But do you manage it? I mean, what sort of focus do you, now that those JVs have been done? What involvement do you have right now?
Yeah, it's interestingly, S2 are the managers at Glenlogan. We'll be very, very involved operationally on the ground because we're based in New South Wales, but we are actually the managers for Newmont at Ballura, which is interesting because when you look at Newmont's deals throughout Australia, they're always the managers with any sort of public company. But I think it's good. It's a good pat on the back to the competence they see in our exploration teams who've been on the ground there, identified these assets and developed them. But yeah, and we're seeing a very, very aggressive exploration effort underway currently at Ballura as we, move past the drilling that we did last year into quite a busy period this year.
And not a penny to be spent from legacy shareholder funds.
Correct.
It's all Newmont. Same with S2R. All right. I can then see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in red, which are the ones that you own 100%. How do you choose your favorite child out of those, or don't you have one?
Yeah, it's hard to pick a favorite child. Some kids are a little more well behaved than others. We really like Black Range and Drake. And Rockley Rockley and Glenlogan are our porphyry type targets. But Black Range is an important tenement for us because after sort of realizing how, I guess, unique Ballura was, we went and looked around the state and thought there has to be another big system like this nearby. Ballura can't be the only one. 65 k's away, free ground was Black Range. So we only pegged that ground last year, and it's huge. So it's 3 times the size of Ballura. So
wow.
Ballura is actually, when you look at Ballura, Drake, and Black Range, Ballura is actually our smallest epithermal in our portfolio. So we've certainly been emboldened by, I guess, just the progress that we've made on that to really tackle a larger system and with the learnings that we've got from our work at Ballura. So we're really quite excited about Black Range, and we'll be drilling that project imminently. And then Drake, I sort of touched on as well. It's been a project that's the only one that we've paid money for, $200,000 to buy it off White Rock, who went into administration. Yeah. And we really see a fantastic opportunity. What was previously a mining play, they were trying to get a mining operation up there. We're resetting the exploration focus. We're back to exploring, and we're really looking at from the copper upside, which just hasn't been the focus for the last 15 years worth of exploration up there, which has been on the gold and silver. So we're really quite excited about those two.
All right. What's in 2024? There's going to be a lot of work being done. what's your strategy to deliver, I guess, growth for shareholders? Is it pushing all of these projects forward as fast as possible? I mean, you're not going to add any more projects to the company, are you?
If we do, we divest, and we sold a project last year. For again, that was pegged for $0, and that was sold up for shares and cash. So if we are, we'll be divesting other assets as well, and that's because we don't like to sit on projects. If we're sitting on an asset, and it's not being progressed, it means we're not adding value for shareholders. But also, we see opportunities in this market because it's so tough for other explorers out there that don't have partnership funding, that aren't getting management fees from managing some of those JVs, or don't have the cash and bank. Is that there are some great opportunities, being at that bottom of the cycle, that even though we're small, we still see value. And Drake is a good example of that, paying $200,000 for a project that has had what we estimate 20 to 30 million spent on it in the
What?
last decade.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness. Okay.
So they're the sort of, we'll bring in a project if we think that we can, if we think we can make money off it, or give that upside to shareholders. But predominantly we'll be focused on discovery. So that's drilling, and we plan to get that upside this year through active drill campaigns. And again, as other explorers are slowly winding back a lot of their exploration efforts, just due to the tougher conditions, we're going to be probably more aggressive than we have been in the last 3 years, since listing, in terms of the amount of drill campaigns that we've got this year. So there's going to be a lot of news flow. That's that immediate short-term upside for shareholders, is through those discovery opportunities.
Okay, so where's the drilling going to happen? Obviously, Ballura, you're managing it, Newmont JV, lots of drilling going on there. Glen Logan, S2 will be doing the drilling there, I'm assuming.
Yeah, correct. So Glen Logan has to get drilled, essentially by the end of the year. So that's going to be quite an exciting drill campaign, because that target is quite binary. It's what really attracted, I guess, the S2 team in coming on that ground, is that a couple drill holes and you're going to know whether we've discovered a new porphyry copper region, like, that hasn't been tested before at that sort of depth. So from, and what we're looking for there is really the same sort of success that Alkane saw when they drilled, Boda, and that discovery added, to an existing producer, 200 mil to their market cap back in 2019. So that's the upside that those porphyry copper drill hits can give if you get it. And that's a fantastic looking bullseye target there. That's quite incredible. And then Black Range as well. So unlike a deeper target, which Glen Logan is about, 550 meters deep. So you're talking quite big diamond holes. When you go to Black Range, and that's what we like as a smaller company, is that we're looking at outcropping gold. So you're looking at veins, the gold starts at surface, the drill targets start from 0 meters. So it's a lot easier for a smaller company to add a lot more bang for buck when you're talking about drilling shallow holes, targeting, mineralization that starts at surface. So that's going to be quite exciting to see that. And again, no one's drilled that since Newcrest did some RC holes back in 1992. So some great untested targets that are just sat there, and it's really right for our picking.
Okay, we're running out of time here, Chris. So I just want to ask you a couple of quick last questions. We can stop screen sharing, that's fine. I think people have got their ideas of where you are. But from a corporate point of view, just talk to us quickly. I think your share price is about 13, 14 cents market cap. Just talk us through, and I think board and management have got quite a few shares as well. Again, this is for the investors to understand how the company is managed. I think that's pretty important.
Yeah, so roughly 100 million shares on issue. We've got 3 million in the bank. So for those, we completed a placement and an entitlement offer, which is just all wrapped up as of early January. So we're in a good position to explore our 100% owned projects. So there's no, certainly no time frame for any capital raises on the future, coupled with the JV expenditure that we're expecting to come through this year. So market cap hovering around 14 mil. So it's roughly at the same sort of price when we signed Newmont on as a JV partner, and when we made an initial discovery last year at Ballura as well. So it's sort of been flatlining, and that presents, we think, a fantastic opportunity to put money into a company that's, there's no risk that we're going to go out the back door, or aren't. We've got the money, we've got the partners. Management team have all been around pre-IPO, so quite a tight group, all top 20 shareholders. So big, in terms of skin in the game, and we participated quite strongly at the last placement. So we're very much aligned to seeing, discovery success, that results in a share price growth. Like we reap the benefits of that as well. So there's a strong alignment with the board and management in terms of achieving those objectives. And importantly, the right technical expertise. I won't talk a whole lot about Tom or Doug, but Doug Menzies is also works for Inflection in New South Wales, and it demonstrates prospectivity. But he's been involved in two companies, Legacy and Inflection, that have brought on Anglo Gold and Newmont to explore in New South Wales for these types of targets within about 3 months. So it is, we've got the right team, we've got the right backing. So from a corporate perspective, we think a good, there's good foundations for growth and good stability there.
All right, we've run out of time, my friend. So give me 3 reasons. Everyone knows I love saying this. 3 reasons they should sit up and take notice of you right now.
Yeah, firstly, that multitude of discoveries. We're looking at drilling 4 projects this year, multiple drill campaigns on some of those. So that's just, we're putting, I don't like to use the term, as many horses in the race as possible, but exploration is a numbers game, and we're certainly giving ourselves as much exposure to those discoveries as possible. Second, we sort of touched on it, is that we're well funded. We've got these partners, $25 million in joint venture and alliance funding, as well as our $3 million bank. So when you look at a market cap of 14 mil, to have that sort of earning, up to that number, that's a phenomenal amount of cash. And so that just means a lot of upside, should we make those discovery success. And probably lastly is, the size of the prize. Like, we're looking for big company making deposits here. Newmont are looking for big company making deposits with us. So and Mark Bennett and the S2 team. So we've got these projects there that, should that exploration success come through, we're talking about, game-changing, discoveries for shareholders.
Good on you, Chris. Well done, because you've got a lot of interesting projects out there. Clever strategies, ladies and gentlemen, with S2 and Newmont. And they've got their own favourite children, as I like to say, that are not JV'd. So, Chris, come back and give us an update later in the year. But for now, thanks so much for joining us on Making Money Matter.
Thanks very much, Gary.